Hello, welcome to another episode of Shirebrook podcast. Today, we will examine the STC policy that aims to prevent nepotism in hiring procedures. I'm trying to prepare for the co-option process as well as I possibly can. So I went onto the town council website to find their co-option procedure. The plan was simple: read it, analyze it, and use it to sharpen my 5-minute pitch. But while digging through the documents, I accidentally stumbled upon something else: a policy regulating the employment of close relatives by senior staff at STC. Oh boy, how did I not notice this before? You can read it for yourself and draw your own conclusions. If you decide to do it on your own, please keep in mind that there is at least one confirmed case of an STC manager working directly above a member of their own family, and new councillors and residents are kept in the dark about that issue. At the moment, we cannot clearly state how many relatives, other than the town clerk's brother, are currently falling under that policy. Policy is called Employment of Close Relatives and Partners, and you can find it on the town website and in the blog text at www.shirebrook247.com. Chapter: Serious Questions About the Clerk's Family Hire. For years, some residents, myself included, have felt uneasy about this issue. The town clerk, working as manager of her own brother, hired at the prominent town hall role. I didn't know until recently that STC actually had a formal policy regulating exactly this situation. This Employment of Close Relatives and Partners policy goes straight to the heart of the matter: conflicts of interest, nepotism risks, and the requirement to follow transparent, documented procedures. Chapter: Small Council, Big Problem. The policy openly admits something obvious. In a small council like STC, hiring close relatives is incredibly high risk because it's almost impossible to avoid conflicts of interest. To prevent this, the policy is extremely clear: a close relative cannot work under the supervision of another. Section 24.6. If employment is unavoidable, the town clerk must establish alternative management arrangements. Section 24.9. A staff member must not take part in recruitment where a close relative is a candidate. Section 24.8. In other words, if the clerk's brother was employed, the council must be able to show written evidence that the clerk did not take part in the recruitment. Someone else was formally delegated as his supervisor, in writing. Alternative management arrangements were put in place. Chapter: Can we see the paperwork? That paperwork must exist, or the policy was not followed. When I was a councillor, I was never informed about any alternative supervision arrangements. In fact, the existence of this family relationship was not openly acknowledged for a long time. Labour, together with town clerk, kept it hidden, secret. When I finally raised the issue publicly, the STC meeting descended into chaos, including one councillor hitting my laptop to disrupt discussion. That reaction alone showed how sensitive the topic was. Labour did not want for people to know that personnel policies in STC are ruled not by law and merit, but rather by connections and political allegiances. Chapter: A structural flaw, and STC walked straight into it. Here's the almost comedic part of the policy. The clerk is responsible for installing alternative management arrangements, Section 24.9. The clerk is also responsible for managing disclosures about personal relationships at work, Section 8.5 and 8.8. So what happens when the clerk herself is the conflict of interest? The system relies on the clerk to fix a problem created by the clerk. That's not a loophole, that's a structural flaw. In a big council with many managers, it might work. In Shirebrook Town Council, with roughly 30 employees, it's almost impossible. And here's the political reality. Labour leadership knew about the issue and chose to ignore it. Why? You'll have to read between the lines. Let me just say this. STC employs more people than 8 other parish councils combined in our region. That's all I can safely say for now. Chapter. The key question. Was the policy actually followed? This policy may have been partially followed at some point, just to tick the boxes. But in the long run, the core issue remain unresolved. Members of the same family should not be in direct line of chain of command. That is against the policy. To comply with the law, STC must prove 1. The clerk took no part in recruiting her brother. We can't confirm this either way. What we can confirm is that he was extremely young at the time, with almost no experience. Here are the typical expectations for the administration assistant role STC advertised recently. 2. A written delegation, appointing someone else as his supervisor. I was a councillor. This was never disclosed to me, even when I asked directly, and those documents could sort out controversy. 3rd. Actual alternative management arrangements were implemented. I never saw any evidence of this. 4. The appointment was merit-based, as required by the Local Government and Housing Act 1989. Again, difficult to reconcile with straight-out-of-school experience levels compared to actual requirements for this position. If any of these steps were skipped, then residents were misled when told everything was proper and in line with policy. Which leads to the next question. Chapter. Why did the clerk's brother quietly disappear from the front desk? Another unusual detail. The town clerk hasn't been attending recent STC meetings. Her brother? Same. Previously, her brother would be the one opening and closing the building. He was the front desk person. Now he's nowhere to be seen. Instead, someone from the leisure centre turns up with the keys. No announcement, no explanation, no transparency. Did he resign? Was he moved to different position? Was the policy finally acknowledged as unworkable? Residents deserve clarity. Chapter. Residents have a right to know. STC is not MI6. Almost everything should be transparent. If something is hidden, you can assume there's a reason. Council employment must follow the law. These policies belong to the public, not to the town hall. And when there's a potential policy breach involving a senior officer's close relative, residents have the right to see the paperwork. Councillors should act to protect residents from nepotism risks and problematic internal relationships. Labour did nothing. Why? That question still hangs in the air. For that reason, I've considered submitting a Freedom of Information request asking STC to release the written delegation, transferring supervision away from the clerk. The alternative management arrangement required under Section 24.9. Any conflict of interest declarations made at the time. Any minutes confirming these procedures were acknowledged. If the system works, the documents will exist. If they don't, that tells its own story. Chapter. 4. Will it be ignored like my previous ones? Many of my previous FOIs have gone unanswered. So this time, instead of wasting hours preparing one, I asked AI to write it for me. It did splendid job. I'm sending it right after publication of the article. You can read it below. Before I sign off, please do not have high hopes for answer. I'm still waiting for FOIs sent in 2022, and few more after that. Honestly, I lost count on how many FOIs our town clerk didn't responded. Maybe she need to hire another member of family to help her out. How about that, Shirebrook? Are you ready to fork out additional £40,000 in taxes to help out our most influential family?